Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is right here. I am Mike Galetta, a.k.a. Hammonton Mike, bringing you the NFL divisional prediction records for 2015. Each segment of my tapes are going to have each division, so if you want your favorite team, just look for the division. This division is going to be the NFC South we're going to talk about, and we'll start from the bottom up. I'm going to first start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, they were 25th on offense last year. Their defense did come on a little bit at the end of the year. The draft this year, they did have some key draft picks like Jameis Winston, first overall, and Al Marpet for their offensive tackle. The only thing with the Buccaneers is I don't think they have a lot of chemistry yet. They're still a young team. They're still in the rebuilding stage. And Jameis Winston, to be honest with you, is going to take his lumps. Just like any rookie quarterback, he's going to go through some growing pains. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to make some interceptions, but he's also going to make some good plays. But just like any young team, they're going to go through some growing pains. Even though defensively they have George Johnson back there, they acquired from Detroit, and they got McCoy back, and they look better on defense. I just don't see the Buccaneers making any headway this year. I think it's one more year to get to where they want to be, and you're going to see that in the opening game. They open up against Tennessee at home. The last 3 games of the year, it's at St. Louis, home against Chicago, and at Carolina. Those are 3 games that are going to see if the Bucs move forward or go back. But this year, I don't think they do as much as expected. I think they end up last in the division at 7-9. Easier schedule though. That's why I think they're going to be 7-9. But I just don't see the Bucs making any headway this year. Third in the division, we're going to talk about the Carolina Panthers. Carolina had a big blow dealt to them this year with Kelvin Benjamin going down. Big key receiver. Cam Newton's #1 target. That's a loss that's really going to hurt them, just like Green Bay with Jordy Nelson. Carolina was 5th on offense last year, again with Kelvin Benjamin. Did have some key drafts this year of Devin Fuchs, wide receiver this year, who will play a lot more this year with the loss of Benjamin. Shaq Thompson, linebacker, who should fit in the offense or fit in the defense nicely and make some tackles along with Kuechly. The keys of the offense this year obviously going to be Cam Newton. Jonathan Stewart, who is now with minus D'Angelo Williams, who's gone to Pittsburgh, is going to be the main back there, so that's going to be interesting. Corey Brown and Ted Ginn Jr. pick up the wide receiver stats. Greg Olsen, a tight end, always a good player. Should really give him some support at tight end. Mike Tolbert back again. And Michael Orr at offensive tackle, blindside guy. He will be at offensive tier on the tackle, which will be interesting. And defense, obviously, you talk about Luke Kuechly with this team. The heart and soul of the defense. Really going to have to step it up and make a lot more tackles than he did last year. Carolina does open up at Jacksonville, which should be a winnable game. There is a stretch in there where they go at Seattle, home against Philadelphia, home against Indy, and home against Green Bay. I think that's going to be really too much for them to take. Although they're better their record from last year, it's not saying too much because they were 7-9 last year. They're going to be 8-8 this year, 3rd in the division. And again, I don't think Carolina can live up to the task of being tops in this division. Number 2 in the division, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta was decimated with injuries last year. A lot of injuries last year. Loss of Julio Jones, some offensive linemen, some defensive linemen. In the draft, they did pick up Vic Beasley, which I think a linebacker. I don't think, even with Jalen Collins back there, cornerback, and Vic Beasley, I still don't think it's enough for Atlanta on defense to step it up and be the #1 team. The key guys in this team, obviously Matt Bryant. Devontae Freeman, running back. Julio Jones back, going to give him a big lift. Jacob Tamme, tight end, hasn't really done that much in the last couple of years, but we'll see what he can do. And their secondary. Their secondary led by Trufant. I just don't think Atlanta did that much on defense to get them over the hump. They're going to struggle on defense. They're going to be in shootouts is what they're going to be in, like New Orleans was a couple of years ago. With that, I think Atlanta has a decent year. I think Atlanta ends up 9-7 in the division. Again, easier schedule. Just offensively, I think they look good. Defensively, a little saggy. So I think they end up 2nd in the division at 9-7. And the #1 team in this division, not by a lot, but just because I think they have more talent than anybody else, is the New Orleans Saints. They were 3rd in offense last year, 18th in scoring now. And Drew Brees just keeps getting it done every year. People just say he's getting older, but you know what? Until you can beat the man, he is the man. So, obviously with the draft, Andrews Pete, offensive tackle, they picked up. And Stephon Anthony, linebacker, who should slide in there pretty nicely and give New Orleans a little bit more defense than they're used to having. The key guys on offense, obviously Drew Brees, still having good years, still putting up the numbers. Brandon Cooks, should step in nicely, be the #1 guy there. Tim Hightower, running back, Mark Ingram, complimentary guys, Kirby Robinson, guys like that are just going to fit in there nicely. I don't think there's really one standout back for them. I think, even with C.J. Spiller out of there, or even Hurt. Sorry about that. I think running they're going to be their struggle a little bit, but Cameron Jordan at tight end is going to give them a nice lift. Josh Morgan, journeyman, a little bit of wide receiver, need a little bit of help there. Alex Smith at tight end, Ben Watson, the aging Ben Watson, still doing his thing, and the addition of Max Unger in the middle. Now, people don't think a center's that big of a deal, but he anchors that lineup, and Max Unger's been in the league long enough, coming over from Seattle, that he could keep that line together in unison and give them a little bit of chemistry. Jarius Byrd, hurt last year. He's got to do well this year, and I think he will. I think that New Orleans defense is a solid enough defense to win it in the division. I think New Orleans goes 10-6, wins the division, and I think that's the way it's going to shake out. So that's the NFC South for you. Keep an eye out for my other divisions. Remember, Sports Box, the only opinion that matters. It's right here. Have a good one.